Childbirth is a universal human experience. But have you ever wondered what happened after the baby arrived in ancient Israel? It wasn't just about recovery. It was this incredible, structured journey, a ritual of separation and then restoration. Today, we're going to walk through Leviticus 12, verse by incredible verse. So, what exactly was this journey for a new mom back then? It was so much more than just physical recovery. We're talking about a deeply spiritual process, a path that led her from being set apart right back into the heart of her community. And I want you to think of this not as some dry list of rules, but as a real human story. It's about a woman moving through this really special, set apart time with her newborn, and then this big moment of being welcomed back. So come on, let's walk that path with her. Okay, so where does this whole process even come from? Well, every story has an author, right? And the text here is super clear about where these instructions originated. Verse 1 kicks things off with a simple but really powerful statement. This isn't some human tradition or a suggestion someone came up with. No, this is presented as a direct communication straight from God to Moses. And that just captures the sheer weight of this moment, doesn't it? For the Israelites, these weren't just rules, they were sacred instructions. Can you imagine the responsibility Moses must have felt, getting this divine blueprint for how to handle one of the most powerful and delicate moments in life? All right, so the law then lays out two different paths, two different timelines. Let's start with the first one, the journey for a mother who has just given birth to a son. So verse 2 starts the clock. For the first 7 days after her son is born, the mother is considered ritually unclean. Now this is super important. Unclean here doesn't mean dirty or sinful, not at all. Think of it as being in a state of sacred separation. It's a special time, set apart just for her and her new baby. It's kind of like this. The new mom and her son are inside this soft, shimmering, protective bubble. It's not trapping them. It's creating this quiet, sacred space just for them. It shields them from the busy world outside so they can have this crucial time for bonding and recovery. Then we get to verse 3, and this is a huge moment. On the 8th day, not the 7th, not the 9th, but the 8th day, a really significant event happens. The son is circumcised. This was the physical sign of the covenant with God, and the timing had to be perfect. You can almost see it on an old calendar, right? 7 days get crossed off, one by one, but that 8th day, it doesn't get crossed out. Instead, it's marked with this bright, glowing star. It is the day, a day with deep, profound meaning for the entire community. Okay, so after that first week and the big event on day 8, verse 4 tells us her journey isn't over. Not yet. For another 33 days, her purification continues. And during this time, there are some specific restrictions. She's not supposed to touch any sacred objects or go into the sanctuary. So this basically creates two separate worlds for a little while. Her focus, and rightly so, is at home with her new baby. The tabernacle, that sacred space, is still there, but there's this temporary, gentle barrier. And it's not a punishment, It's more like a recognition that her most sacred duty for these 33 days is right there at home. So all in all, that's a 40-day journey for a son. But what if the child is a daughter? Well, the law lays out a totally different timeline. And here in verse 5, we see a really significant difference. The timeline is literally doubled. For a daughter, that initial period of separation is 2 weeks, and the second phase of purification stretches out to 66 days. The text doesn't really explain why there's a difference, which is fascinating. But, man, the difference is stark. When you see it side by side like this, it's crystal clear. For a son, you've got 7 days plus 33 days, which is a total of 40 days. But for a daughter, it's 14 days plus 66 days, for a grand total of 80 days. It's a simple comparison, but a really dramatic one. Okay, so whether it was 40 days or 80 days, once that period of purification was finally over, the journey wasn't quite complete. It all leads up to one final, absolutely crucial act. Verse 6 really is the climax of this whole story. Her time of being set apart is done. And now she comes to the tabernacle with two specific offerings. First, a lamb for a burnt offering. This was all about complete dedication to God. And second, a pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. Now, this wasn't because she'd done something wrong, but it was about restoring her ritual purity after being so close to the raw power of life and death during childbirth. Just imagine that woman, her face absolutely filled with hope, walking towards the entrance of the tabernacle. She's carrying a small lamb, and in her other hand, a little cage with a dove. This is it. This is her big moment of being welcomed back fully into the life of the community. So in verse 7, the priest steps in. He acts as the intermediary, right? He takes her offerings and presents them to God, which makes atonement for her. That's a key phrase. It basically means the ritual bridges the gap that her separation created. It formally resolves her unclean state, and the text says it loud and clear. She is now clean. So let's just break that down into 4 simple steps. 1, she brings the offering. 2, the priest presents it. 3, atonement is made. And 4, she is officially publicly declared clean. It's a complete restoration. But what if a family couldn't afford a lamb? I mean, that was a real possibility. Well, verse 8 includes this really important compassionate provision. The law makes an allowance. She could bring 2 birds instead, one for the burnt offering and one for the sin offering. And this right here just shows the grace that was built right into the system. It didn't matter if a family could afford the standard offering or if they needed the alternate one. The end result was exactly the same. The most important words in that verse apply to both, and she will be clean. So access to being restored wasn't limited by how much money you had. And with that final act, her long journey is finally complete. She's moved from that sacred separation of childbirth through the whole period of purification, all the way to the final offerings at the tabernacle. The new mother is now fully 100% restored to her community and can take part in all the sacred rituals again. So that leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? Was this whole complex ritual just about purification, or was it maybe something more? Like a really structured way to honor the profound, world-changing event of bringing a new life into the community? It's a great question to ponder.